Compliance, part 4. All right, let's get the fire going. Okay, so evolution is a lie. Good news is the country of Turkey took it out of their education system. So let's get it out of our education system also. If you're going to send the little ones to school, try your very best for them not to be told a pack of lies. All right, so evolution is a lie. As humans, right, remember, legally, according to Ballantyne's legal dictionary, we are called monsters on this rock. We never evolved here, guys. This sun is not our star. We are enslaved, taken, and mingled with. Our seed is heavily mingled. I mean, there's like 20 different seed lines inside of us by a satanic force. And until we stop serving the flesh, right, we are in a world system of lies. We're not going to get back to our home star planet and whatever galaxy we belong to. What you need to know about the Milky Way galaxy, this is called, in space, in astronomer language, astrotheology, there is what's known throughout all of the trillions of galaxies, a void. The largest void ever detected is the Milky Way galaxy. This is what is known as a 7 times void. Do you think that's a coincidence? 7? This void that we're in, the Milky Way galaxy, is called the KBC. So, I'll do a whole astrotheology video on all of this. But the lie of space and the planets, let's get back to evolution, right? Back to dominion that Adam was given. Would we, if this was our home planet, if we evolved here, wouldn't we also be telepathically connected to all of the animals? Or dare I say, wouldn't we know what they know? What do the animals know? They never die in natural disasters. They know when a tsunami or an earthquake or whatever danger, natural danger, whatever upheaval the earth is going to go through, they know it. They sense it, they feel it, and they get out of harm's way. Right? You don't find dead elephants and giraffes or whatever, because a tsunami all of a sudden took out tens of thousands of humans. Wouldn't we know what they know? Wouldn't we be able to sense tectonic activity, flash flooding, tsunamis? We too, if we were made in God, if we were the design of God, we would be perfect, obviously. There would be no flaws, right? We would have built in us, like God gave the animals on this rock, we would have that inner compass. We would never die in a natural disaster. So in other words, things did evolve on this rock, just not you and me, Betsy. Animals did, people did. They lived in harmony. I'll do videos on the life of Cochise and Geronimo and how they taught their people, how telepathic they were, how they lived in harmony with all of life on the planet, with all of the Creator, how much they prayed daily. But getting back, if we were part of what did evolve on this rock, we would know, right, like animals do, the path of least resistance on whatever terrain they're on. We would be able to navigate without much effort on our terrain. But you and I, we don't have an internal natural compass to navigate on our own terrain. That's how they never actually captured Cochise and Geronimo, because they had that natural ability on the terrain that they were given. This was considered given to them by God. The state of Arizona, at that time called Territory, as well as New Mexico. Did you know on this planet, this rock, I gotta stop saying planet, that's just that's called historical conditioning. I'm gonna try to undo that doctrination. But on this rock, right, there's only 3 species that exist on this rock that are violent for fun. In other words, it's been spliced into us, mingled our seed into 3 different species that deliberately attack, be it rape or murder, for no other reason than just for fun. No other species does this. Every other species on this rock has to have a reason to attack. As an example, to protect their family, to protect their offspring, to protect their food supply, to protect their territory, or they're being threatened. So they are engineered by God to be protective, never aggressive. Unlike, again, 3 species, right? The 3 species that is unlike this is the chimpanzee kingdom, the humans, and dolphins. I know you're going to find that shocking, dolphins. Well, I thought dolphins were all loving. They are to humans, but not to other creatures in the sea. In other words, let's look at the chimpanzee kingdom, because they are the closest to us at a level of DNA. Chimps do kill each other. They actually start wars for no reason. Now you can read about, I read this it's literally a war that took place over 4 years, from 1974 to 1978, in the Gombe Chimpanzee National Park in Tanzania. Jane Goodall, remember her, the researcher? She was there for all 4 years. She watched and recorded this war. She was in disbelief that this could happen, but it did. It was very bloody. The male apes would leave one side of the national park and travel all the way to the other side simply to murder, tear apart very violently female apes. Dolphins are the same. Dolphins will routinely not only rape but murder other species such as porpoises. They will kill in the hundreds, and not over food, not over territory, not by being threatened, but for pleasure. They rape and kill porpoises for fun, like us humans. Since we've been hijacked from somewhere, and since we've arrived on Earth, a different species, if you think about it, the only pigmentation that should exist under this star, over this rock, is black pigmentation. White pigment, any other pigment other than black, is not meant to survive this sun. That's just period. That's the way it is. The Kalahari Bushmen today are still alive and well and living in harmony. They are natural humans that evolved here. Again, like many Native Americans with much darker pigmentation. They can survive this sun. Other pigmentations, the lighter pigmentations, cannot and will not ever. So that is just a little bit of history of our violence. Today we think we are modern, civilized, and peaceful. But you go a few days, right? Go a few days or go a week without clean water and food and see what happens. We humans will begin fights and start riots over really any type of nonsense we can conjure up, right? Religions, racism, oil, water, food, money, drugs, taxes, politics, power, corruption, boredom, drunk, drugs, lies, jealousy, envy, greed, lust. I mean, Black Friday was designed to keep us in that program. And now in 2025, it's just gender and ignorance. And I hope that term woke is going away now. I hope we've gotten beyond that. Not sure, because I'm out of touch with, life in general. But I do know that humans on this rock are on a downward spiral, declining, not evolving. which would have been God's design. Right? Today, what we are evolving towards, and the young generation loves it, AI, transhuman. That train can't be stopped. It's already off the track and over the hill. So once again, this is not our home rock. We are so far from our garden, or let's say galaxy, our garden in another galaxy. And unless you know this and you start forming the proper prayers to get your bloodline out of here, off of this rock, that is not built for our safety or protection. It is not our home. We are a stranger on a strange, dare I say, rock. I don't believe most humans were made for this rock. We were captured and dropped off here for various reasons. So until we, right, the kidnapped, altered people from the garden, once made flawlessly in the image of God, we were mingled. Why? So they spliced into us violence. They intervened and stopped the natural ways of living in harmony. We are the aliens here. We stopped a natural way of life in harmony with their creator, meaning when the white men, the military came in and started gathering up the Native Americans, they were living in harmony, perfectly normal and natural. They were part of their terrain. They were part of all of nature around them. They were one with the animals, the birds, everything. It was us, lighter pigmentation people, that came in with violence and destroyed whatever God did put on this rock at one time. So let me talk on just my lifetime, right? I've spent my entire life with hybrids in hybrid nurseries. I was tagged from conception. I was most likely meant to spend my entire life on the ships as a recruit in the hybrid nurseries. I did watch how many cross species breeding, in other words, they love to blend human with animal. Right? I did watch Daniel 2:43 play out for decades. I stood alongside 20 foot tall insectoids. We call them praying mantises, along with the tall grays, the engineers, the short biobot gray, little biological robots. We call them the grays. Other human-looking species, and of course my favorite, Squatch. I watched them play around with the human genome. They corrupted us to be hive mind slaves for them on this rock. So let's just take a look at some of our corrupted design. If you think you were made in the image of God, because I hear so many so-called Christians, cretins, out there talking about us imagers, and it's hostile to my spirit. It's hostile to the Holy Spirit inside of me. It's like, why are you doing, how can you take such a flawed design and say we're made in the image of God? It's a slap in the face. This is ridiculous. Look how flawed the human is. Look how defective, how programmable we are. And to say that's in the image of God? What's wrong with you guys? Stop it. Stop calling us imagers. This happened to me yesterday, and that's why I'm going to bring it up, because I really thought I punched a ticket yesterday, right? Water went down the wrong tube. If you all had that happen, right? You know how scary that is? Okay, that's our pharynx. Our pharynx is used for not only breathing, but for eating and drinking. So that allows us to easily get choked and die. I mean, I thought I was done with yesterday. It was over and out. Actually, just in this country alone, did you know that 3,000 deaths occur on average a year just from water, going down the wrong tube. Do you think that's God's design? Do you think God is flawed like that? What about our inability to synthesize a needed for life vitamin C? Right? Vitamin C makes our immune systems, without vitamin C, your immune system becomes weak. In the past, in our history, that lack of vitamin C caused scurvy, right? The gene that allows to synthesize vitamin C, that gene has been corrupted. Going back to Eve, once she listened to the snake hissing, right? What happened immediately? Well, the birth canal narrowed, allowing babies' heads to get stuck, prolonging labor for hours with immense pain, and also it risked death to both baby and mom. Or compare our feet to such a large, heavy bird like an ostrich. An ostrich is extremely stable, right, with only 2 toes. Unlike our foot, each foot has 26 bones with arches that collapse, resulting in weak ankles and undermining our stability. Is this by God? Is that a design flaw that God's like, oh gee, sorry about your luck? It is not our original design. If this were in any way like our home planet, wherever our home planet is, whatever galaxy, whatever our star is, right, we would not get sinuses, infection, headaches, joint pain, and so on when the weather changes. That leads to inflammation, pain. Our eyes are also corrupted. That's why Jesus said, with eyes to see. How so? Our optic nerve is in the center of our field of view, which leaves a blind spot in each eye. That is why a reptilian, who is of this rock, by the way, can be standing in front of us, but our brains are wired to only see a human. Or what about our teeth? Do you know that our teeth do not, right, continually grow to accommodate our eating needs? Our teeth begin to wear out around 35 years of age and decline yearly after that. I think you're seeing the bigger picture, right, Betsy? I mean, look around at some of more lies. Look at buildings and artifacts we discover all the time underground or in the oceans. Some carbon date to be over 1 million years ago, before us so-called humans supposedly evolved. Now you can look into books and websites on forbidden archaeology that the mainstream science will not fund. These guys who discover this stuff and write about it, they will not fund it for a reason. The truth of this experiment over millions of years cannot be known to the masses. Right? The masses might not like the truth. Exposing our handlers, keeping us programmed to obey and comply. Side note here, I went and looked at it. YouTube has a lot of great videos, real videos of people out discovering this stuff. Just go look for kind of like out of place artifacts and archaeology, and you can see some of it's amazing. Pictures they have, I saw temples where people are walking around with no cars, no electricity, dirt roads, primitive as you get, but the temples that there had to be angelically made. I mean, no human could make some of the stuff that I've seen. This planet, again, cannot call it, we got to stop calling it a planet. This rock is some type of experiment, a petri dish of mingled seed lines, as I mentioned in other videos. We are literally in the boondocks as far as galaxies go. We are so far removed from all of the other galaxies. It makes us a perfect prison or a laboratory on humans today. Science call what we are in, again, astronomer language, it is known as a void. What does a void mean? Voids are regions of space that have fewer galaxies, stars, and planets than others. Again, our void is called KBC. It is spherical. It is 1 billion light years in diameter. That is to say, 7 times larger than the average void, making a perfect quarantine so that our human experiment does not contaminate other planets and galaxies. Yes, you heard me right. Earth is extremely remote. In essence, we are so completely isolated from all other civilizations. Now, think about this. What if Earth was like North Korea, where our entire bloodline were punished if just one person colors outside the lines? Or if one family member defects, the whole family is punished? I mean, that fact remains for us humans. Like I said earlier, we're only 3 days, that is 9 missed meals from total anarchy. Now let's talk about the Bible, right? Basic instructions before leaving Earth. So we know it says God created the heaven and the earth, that in Genesis 1. Elohim made man in his image. And a different creation is made with Adam, giving him a soul. And then Adam gave up a rib, and out of earth comes Eve. But let's realize it does not ever say that we were created in the same place. It does not say that the garden, Adam and Eve, are on this rock. Just because you and I today are told that the rock we are on is earth does in no way mean that that is the truth of our origin. I ask you to try and take the time to get through Jeremiah 48, all 47 verses of it. Just try and do that. Seriously. Jeremiah 48, 47 verses. What I take from it, God is not happy that any humans are on this rock. I mean, seriously. Who are the wanderers? And the spoiler. Now, having read Jeremiah 48, go spend some quality time in Hosea 9, right? With thorns in the tabernacles. That is the Revelation 17 whore. I've already talked about Circe. And you can read how and I already read Hosea 9, 6 and 7. The prophets are fools. The spiritual man is mad. Israel in the Bible simply means God's people. It does not mean a plot of land on earth. Jacob was renamed Israel in Genesis 32:28. In Hosea 9, there shall be wanderers in the nations, like Jeremiah 48. For me, we are not meant to be here. As I have said since my first video, which is now over 1.6 thousand ago, we are trapped in a Dark Angel video game. Jesus came here and conquered the darkness that is of this rock. But if his people keep up the idolatry of going to Sunday assemblies, that iniquity will be passed to your kids and grandkids. That is also a promise the Bible teaches us, if we let it. But the mainstream will follow tradition and not the Bible. Today, finally, the lie that started again mid-1800s, the Darwin theory of evolution, people are seeing that it's not adding up. It's falling apart, as everything does in Satan's divided house. There's no truth. So the narrative constantly has to change to mold the next generation perception of reality. And the new scientist taking the stage now just does not support the outdated concept of evolution, at least not for humans. Us humans, by the way, we share our DNA with grass, with bananas. I showed you the image I think the first video I started out was showing you what all is found in our DNA. Everything from rats to chickens to platypus. Nothing is truth. The Human Genome, should read that book, by the way, Human Genome Project. Human genome contains more than 3 billion base pairs. Today we know our DNA has been corrupted. It bears scars where sections have been chopped out. You can read the book by Lloyd Pye on our human origins on this fact. However, the narrative, Satan's agenda, insists that these scars found in our DNA are created by the aging process, by the sun's radiation. But having said that, these scars are also found in newborn babies. So again, the narrative has to change. Their lies only hold up for so long. Some of these flaws, as one example, is called spina bifida, which means people with this condition cannot reproduce. So no one could pass this condition on, logically. It would have been eradicated, no longer in the gene pool. But truth always prevails, and it still exists today. And we comply with their systems of lies. Logic tells us, like spina bifida, it has been spliced into us. I do not think we are alone in these trials. The current estimate is that there are 40 billion Earth-sized planets around 11 billion orbit suns, sun-like stars, like the stars that are like our sun here on this rock. I say this only so you can include in your prayers. We want off of all of them. We want back home to weather wherever our garden, on whatever planet, in whatever galaxy, we don't know. So again, I think I can't remember if I mentioned this, but Turkey is the first country to take the theory of evolution out of schools. They no longer teach children this nonsense. So let's, let this country follow that example and expose the alien agenda on us, the satanic alien agenda on us, human bloodlines, on God's actual creation. It only takes one generation to stop casting spells. Do not become the broadcasters, the sportcasters, the podcasters. It's all casting of spells. When you do these platforms of idolatry, getting followers and subscribe, I guess it's the same thing, followers, subscribers, likes, thumbs up, whatever money you're getting, stop being the players in these casting satanic rituals. Stop casting out anything but truth about the system. Stop with the Christians, stop with the religion, stop with your education. Put out solid biblical truth, exegetically, through the concordance. Teach the next generation how to legally pray, wake up from this spell, on this circle, right, on a pillar of ice, under a dome, with fixed stars. Get all of the clones on your Hydra Sea Serpent constellation, the clones of all of your earth buildings, the clone of all of the people, and yes, include all of your screens. That was the last warfare put on me. I didn't put on a video for over 2 weeks, as I didn't realize I didn't put in my prayer all of my screens, meaning my phone, my iPad, my computer, and my TV. All of your screens are cloned on Hydra in the second heaven. So you got to put the blood of the Lamb and then dip it in living waters. And then you got to indict your accuser angels, have them confined and chained in the abyss, and then the next generation can have a fighting chance. And before you want to pierce, as an example, another thing, before you start piercing your baby's ears, let's remember what that is a sign of. Let's go to the Bible and read Exodus 21, verse 5 and 6. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve them forever. We think it's cute and cuddly when you're piercing your baby's ears, when you're letting your girls get their ears pierced. It just said that you're a slave forever. You are enslaved forever. So the piercing of ears, wearing earrings, that gives the demonic and the fallen angels legal ground to enter into you and to stay. Why? Because you partake in the flesh in this system. Seriously. Go read it now. Exodus 21, 5 and 6. Now do you want to wear earrings? It's just biblical, solid truth. But you and I have been so indoctrinated to engage in the flesh of this world. This Potter's not wearing any earrings. Just saying, Potter out.